Welcome back to Muscle TV. John Moose Moore and Mick Dittman are two very experienced trainers that have done more than a few competitions in their day. And they both know how to stay in top shape, sometimes under seemingly difficult circumstances. Recently, we caught up with them as they hammered out an old school back workout. Take it away, boys.
My name's Johnny Moore. I've been training for about 430 years, or maybe it just seems that long. I'm 52 next week. I first started training in about 1974 and went to my first bodybuilding competition in 1979.
I'm 41. I've been competing for about 15 years on and off. I love training. And then the way you change your body and the way it makes you look and the way it makes you feel, that's what I love.
I competed in the PWI competitions during the early 80s up until about 1986 was my last competition. I then took a brief 27-year break and made a comeback at the end of 2011. Went to the World Championships and came second in the over 50s. Now, if I had to come 10th, I would have said, that's it, wrap up, shut the gate. If I had to come first, I would have said, time to retire. But second was too close not to give it another shot. I want to win that this year, then I can tie up the trunks and walk away.
I'm a trade assistant. I work in the gas and oil fields up in Moomba, and it's the top of South Australia, very remote areas. So it is hard to train. A lot of my training is done from the back of the ute with power bands, and the welders weld me up dumbbells and things like that. I use a lot of visualisation. I try and think that I'm somewhere else, rather than, in the middle of the desert, 7 a.m. in the morning, training with flies everywhere and snakes and things like that. Every camp you go to, some are good, some are bad. It all depends.
It's probably 18 years since I've had my last workout with Mick at my home gym.
That's right, yes.
A long time ago. So we've worked out a combination of exercises I do on a regular basis, exercises Mick does on a regular basis, and we've come up with something that's going to hit the back in as many different angles and directions as we can. Today we're going to do one-arm barbell rows using the torsionator.
My main philosophy is just don't get injured, make it intense, different angles, just exactly like we're going to train today. A lot of supersetting and just to get a good feel. So I think if you're not feeling the muscle that you're using, then it's not working.
Now, it's more about feeling the muscle, working it through different ranges of movement, planes of movement, positions of flexion, using the noggin a little bit to get the result of, heavy training, like a young man would.
T-bar now, buddy.
We're onto it.
I like a nice squeeze when I do my T-bars. I don't like to use my lower back too much and go too heavy, and just get a nice squeeze and a nice feel. Probably rep range around the 10 to 15. So I think time under tension is the biggest thing. The longer you can keep a heavy weight under tension and the longer you can keep it moving, I think the better chance you've got of growing.
I don't generally try and be overly strict. I like to have a little bit of movement through the back when I do any of my rowing movements, to keep a little bit of sweetness there, to keep a little bit of natural movement there. I don't believe in isolating or pretending that your arms aren't connected to your torso at all when you do a row. I like to find a happy medium and move as much weight as possible in a given range of movement and do it as safely as possible.
Now we're heading over to the split machine for some barbell bent over rows.
It has a set plane of movement, and I find that I can get into that and I can work my middle, lower lats beautifully. I don't have to worry about the weight moving forward or backwards. I can set my core perfectly and I can row with a nice, smooth, rhythmic sort of a fashion.
I think it's working a bit smarter, but just a different angle again. It is holding you in a plane of motion, so I think you got less chance of getting injured for a start. It's just a different movement. You can use the bar if you like, but it's all set up there. It's a totally different exercise.
I generally like to train pretty close to failure, not on every set. That would be a little bit unwise, I would suggest, but Generally speaking, we'll train heavy with as many repetitions as we can, taking into account within the boundaries of acceptable risk factors. One that I throw quite regularly into my routine is an alternating pull down, one arm at a time. People do alternating lunges, people do alternating curls, people do alternating rows. So on this occasion, we're going to do something a little bit different using a cable crossover machine, an alternating pull down.
I think a cable works you through the full range of motion. I think you can't let a cable go as when you do back or you do, say, pull-ups, chin-ups. A lot of people just let it go. Whereas with a cable, it's very hard to let it go.
I think we'll be looking about 3 to 4 sets of 12 to 15 on this particular exercise. Again, being a unilateral or alternating exercise, you know, it's a great one to feel. It's got a great range of movement, and it's just slightly different to doing it with a pull-down machine. And we're going to finish off with a lat stretch. So we're going to hang from a bar with some weights around our waist and just stretch the lats out when we're done. Found it very invaluable stretching my lats. I was able to actually increase the width of my back by stretching the muscle out, and I found the development came further down the back.
I really enjoyed it, and mate, when you're working out with a beast like Mick, it always brings the best out in you. You know, you think, will I do 6? Well, he just did 8. Well, I'm going to have to do 8 as well. He always brings the best out in people. Great workout, buddy.
Well done, Ken.
Cheers, mate.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys.
No, thank you, fellas. Well, that's just about it for tonight's show, but before we go, we'd like to say we've been getting heaps of inquiries about the Max's Muscle Up Challenge. Well, we're happy to say the challenge is on again, and it's going to be bigger and better than ever. It's back and set to begin mid-July this year, folks, and one of the big changes this year is there's a new separate men's and women's division with separate judging and separate prizes too. If you want to find out more, just head to either maxchallenge.com.au for the men's challenge or maxinschallenge.com.au for the ladies. While you're there, check out the video outlining the incredible stories and results of last year's top 10 challenges. It's truly inspirational stuff. And if you like, leave us your contact details and we'll be in touch with you about how and when you can get involved when the challenge begins later this year. It's not often that you can do something that will quite literally change your life, folks, but the challenge is just that. So get yourself ready. Most importantly, get on board. You won't regret it. Well, that's it for me. Thanks for joining us. And until next week, see you in the gym.